Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to take a close look at the most weird but also wicked system I've ever found when it comes to Sega clone systems. I swear I've reviewed all kinds of devices, this thing didn't even came in the box. I found it for a very expensive price, but I just need to pick it up just to see what it is. And I can tell you the first disappointing thing is the controller. I've paid, I think it was like over 40 freaking euros for it, and you can already see like the wiggling D-pad. Like it's the floating D-pad, but really like of the cheap ones. Like the buttons are absolutely like horrible. They're not like the worst quality I've seen, because when you're looking at some of the cheap controllers, when you're pressing one button, you basically see them all moving. That's not the case over here, so not like the really bad ones. But the other problem I'm having with this device is that we have like an USB controller connectivity. So this is not like you can hook up an original Sega controller. It comes with an HDMI cable and power supply, because this thing works on 5 volts. So it's absolutely weird looking, but also, yeah, kind of cheap. It doesn't look at all like anything that in Sega. It's just like a weird system they have created. Unfortunate thing is like my spring has been like defective with the dust cover. So this has been for a while now. So it does a little bit of a bummer. Maybe we can open it up, we can fix it, or yeah, I think this problem will always continue be coming back, because it's just like really low quality. But I can tell you, this is maybe one of those weird, expensive ones, but it is a very particularly interesting one, because this is maybe just the ultimate device that you can pick up. And not only because of the cheap shell, because I wish they made like something better out of it, maybe like a cool Sega like knockoff system that looks absolutely like the original one. This thing has a lot of potential. So at the front you're just going to get yourself like 2 USB ports, nothing really special. But here we're going to see the first interesting thing. It's the HDMI functionality. Oh, it stopped zooming in. Camera, zoom. But I might want to say like this thing does have HDMI, but it doesn't have AV out anymore. So we cannot use an old school CRT. Input micro USB for power, but this thing also comes with a built-in EverDrive. Yep, you can add games. And this thing, let's see, it comes with a 512 megabyte card. That's not a lot. But yeah, let's be honest, if you're going to add games to it, you don't need like something like 4 gigabyte. Or do we? Nevertheless, let's take a close look what's on the SD card, but also let's power this thing on and let's see what are we going to get. Because I think it's quite interesting. Because this thing, even now, it's old, it's very hard to find, but this is the device that has a lot of potential. Games. The question remains, of course, how good is it compatible with different cartridges? And how are we going to get them out? There is no eject button. We can just pull them out. I feel it's getting grip on the cartridge, so getting them out is not a very nice thing. It depends, of course, if you're going to play original games. Sometimes even with multi-game cards, there you just can't get them out anymore. So that is also a common problem with this version. I don't like it at all. Damn, that is really tight. But I want to bring the testing for these systems just to the next wicked level. I tested it out in the past with some cartridges, but I wanted to test them out with all kinds of versions, and I think I've collected them all now. So with the test we will include Street of Rage number 2, because I love those soundtracks and they're a great test for testing out the sound capabilities of the hardware. Then we're going to get the Bitmap Bureau Xenocrisis. It's basically like a new game-ish homebrew. Then we're going to get Virtual Racing with the special chip. The chip that not all of the clone systems will have the support for, or the system in general. We're going to get Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the combination card that is also not supported by every single clone system. And not to forget an original multi-game card, just to see what happens if we're going to plug it in and we're trying to play some games. We're going to get the Mega EverDrive, the original Greeks edition, and that we're going to test out, because also the EverDrive is not supported by every single system. And then we're going to get the multi-game card from a friend from China. Same story, not always compatible with a system. Also, we're going to test out the fake, weird looking Japanese version multi-game card. Then the Sonic 2, when he becomes fluffy, or in other words, just a retro game, a homebrew game, just to see how it works out. And of course, we're going to check out the fake versions, the EverDrives from China, just to see if this game works too. Okay, so let the testing begin on the device, and let's see if it's capable of running all of these different cartridges. Okay guys, so everything has been connected, so let's boot it up. And I can tell you, like, of course I tested the system out before I did the review, and there is something you just need to see. So, do you remember the Ed Games product they released, like the flashback? Guess again. They are ripping off the software, or kind of a version of it. It runs on Android, as you can see over there. Oh boy. So there's a quite interesting development when it comes to this case and this stuff that is inside. We're going to do an opening up teardown, but first let's take a close look at the menu, because look at this, it's exactly the same. So the menu itself looks very similar to the Ed Games, but also the functionalities when it comes to controller. When you're pressing the B and C button, then we can change between the category you can see over there. Okay, the first thing that we're going to try is a multi-game card. Completely pointless, but just wanted to see if this thing works. Alright, so let's see if anything works at all. Let's boot it up, cartridge slot. Okay, so you see it's going to start load up the cartridge itself. But with the original Ed Games product, I know, like, when you try to do this, it load up a couple of games in a combination with the menu, because they're like different games, of course, and the menu like configured in the cartridge. Whoa, it will take up some time, and we'll try out some different games just to see how it will work in the end. Almost 80, 90, and 100. Okay, it loads up. Let's see what are we going to get in the menu itself. Are we going to get separate games, or is it going to be one big mess? It says here, BPM 2 Tail Demo. Alright, let's boot it up. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's interesting. So basically it ripped the full multi-game card. Oh, by the way, there's a multi-game card that has like Genesis and Sega Master System games. I don't know what's going on with the soundtrack, but normally we're going to get normal music. Okay, so let's boot up a game and let's see if it will load up the Mortal Kombat 2 game. If everything works like a normal multi-game card. And like I expected, it doesn't work at all, because it loaded up the full, let's say, ROM file, but in the end it worked completely differently, of course, than a normal game. So when it comes to multi-game cards, they will not work on this device. Okay, so now we know that the system itself loads up the ROM files. This is more like with the Red ROM. Let's try it out with a Sonic 3 and Knuckles combination. Just curious, what will he load up? Will he recognize both cartridges, and will he boot it up like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, as it was going to be like a one must-up situation? The loading time will be slightly faster because of course, the ROM file, but it's still late. It takes up a lot of time. In my opinion, it's a fun thing to see that it works like this, but let's be honest guys, this is like fake emulation / Mega Drive gameplay, because you're just downloading ROMs from an original cartridge. That's it. So let's see what happens in the main menu. It's loaded up 100%. Alright. But let's do a quick overview of the menu. Over here we're going to get the cartridge slot. So if you're going to add a game through the cartridge slot, it will load it up here. Favorites, recents, the TF games, so in other words the TF card at the back. Then we're going to get the FTG games, the Act games, and the bonus games. They ripped off the menu of the Act games, because I can remember it still had like the bonus games, but now we don't get them because, yeah, they were like pretty damn horrible and they just left it out. But what is a really interesting thing, that when you're pressing the reset button, it doesn't go like straight into the reset mode, like going back to the main menu. No, we're going to get the save slot, and also having more save game slots in combination with quit game, resume, and also we're going to get the scanline filter. So let's try that one out. Let's press on and off, and let's see how that looks. So that is a quite interesting situation. We're going to get Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic and Knuckles 1, Sonic the, and Sonic the. Okay, so let's try out the first one. Let's see what happens when we're booting it up. Okay, so the first game doesn't boot up at all. So let's reset it. Let's see what happens if we're going to do that. And somehow everything is stuck now. No response whatsoever on the buttons. So the only thing I can do is turn it off. And the LED is still green. What the hell is going on? Oh boy, this doesn't work at all, isn't it? Oh man, oh man. Okay, so I resetted the system. Now it only shows one game. It doesn't even see Sonic 3 at all. But you can see that it doesn't work at all. So it's a bummer, if you ask me. So quickly I wanted to try out a multi-game card that is an official one, and the weird thing is, like, look at this, it loads up the menu, game 1, game 2, game 3. So I'm guessing this is Street of Rage, so let's boot that one up. Let's see if it boot up. Okay, it gets into menu. Okay, so let's see if I can play this original multi-game card. It seems to be working. Let's play the game and let's see how it sounds. Don't press the power button, don't press the power button. Okay. But you can, some of these games, even official multi-game cards, can work on it. But you can kind of get like different files that you need to choose from. What a weird situation. You would expect, like with the first Chinese multi-game card, you're going to get one file because he's dumping the file or the ROM itself, but it's kind of a weird situation. The D-pad itself is not bad at all. Okay, so this is another weird thing. So I loaded up a homebrew game, just a normal game, no multi-game card stuff. And here again we're going to get two different files. So it's just a big mess, if you ask me, when it comes to loading up cartridges. It's a fun idea, but in the end it's not the way how it should be working. Like, what the hell's going on, man? Alright, let's see. Yep, Sonic's getting fluffy, so it seems to be working. Ah! Ah, crap, I can't move anymore. Ah! Alright, so let's try the first game, Mega Drive game from the TF slot, which you can use as instant load, no problem whatsoever. And so far I can hear that the sound itself is not bad at all. All the sound effects are here. Another interesting option, that this device has the possibility to play Sega Game Gear games. It does sound like crap because it sounds all turbo mode. Holy crap. See, and this is the point that I mean with these Chinese products. They add something and they completely messed it up, because this is not how it should sound. Turbo Sonic Health mode. Okay guys, so a straight capture from the device itself, and let's do the sound test. Alright guys, so what I noticed is that the sound is not 100% accurate, but it's getting really close. So let's try the scanline filter and how will this look and how will the game perform, because I noticed that the game, it tends to lag here and there if you're looking very closely. And when you're thinking some games sound very well, when you compare it with the original soundtrack, it sounds completely messed up. And when we're playing Sonic the Hedgehog 1, oh boy, the sound of the rings is not like it should be, and there is a big sound delay with this game. And that is something, it's just a big bummer that you completely messed it up. Okay guys, so let's take a close look in the inside. This thing is super lightweighted, so I'm guessing there is almost nothing in it. So the thing that we need to do is try to remove all the freaking feet, because underneath we're going to get the four screws that we need to remove. Oh, I'm going to do this out of camera, because otherwise there will be like a 50-minute freaking teardown. Alright, so let's remove the 4 screws that are in here. And that's the only thing that we need to do for getting these 2 shells from together. They were not tightened up very well, but it was very easily to remove them. You know, with the new generations of systems, with the technology we're having nowadays, we don't need like big PCBs. And that is what we will see. So here at the top we're going to get a very cheap, let's say, dust cover. Oh, just great. So this feather is already loose. You can see that that happens all the freaking time. Oh boy, so what are we going to get here? Here we're going to get the PCB that is made for the front part for the reset and the on and off. There we're going to get the system itself, the main board where all the magic happens. But there are some interesting things. Okay, so let's take a close look at the production date to begin with. So this is version 1.2.0, seriously? So I'm guessing they didn't make a version 2. Then we're having here the production date says 2019-04-20. So this device, when I'm making this video, is already like 2 years old. Inside we're going to get the rock chip, the RK3036G. And interesting about this chip is that nowadays they are using these things in a freaking handheld. So if you ask me, I think it's capable of running even more like Mega Drive games. So you can basically rebuild this thing like an emulation beast, if you ask me. But over here we're going to get the chip for storage, and of course here we're going to get the chip with the RAM in it. Okay, but when you're looking at the system, I find it a very interesting piece of technology, especially when it comes to the chip itself. We can play some original games, like with the Ed game systems. And to be honest, I can't recall what kind of chip they were using in the Ed games back in the day. But yeah, in the end, it's an interesting piece of hardware, an Android box inside the Mega Drive shell, and we can play some original games. But yeah, nevertheless, what are we going to get with it? I think it's a very interesting device, maybe one of the best ones so far. Not for the controllers, but particularly for the software. It's just more like an Ed game system, or that's what I think of it. Because when you're looking at the last released Ed games product, this thing had like a lot of cool features, like rewind, you can add games, you name it. This thing does have like a lot of potential. Unfortunate, we're only having like a USB weird cheap controller. That's maybe the downside. And for the money, it's a little bit overpriced. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell. And it would be great to see you in the next video.